Well, hey everyone, my name is Nathan Jones, and if you're new here, welcome. I like to talk about all things movies, specifically Blu-rays, and today we are talking about the Criterion sale that's happening over at Barnes & Noble. It's a little late than it usually is, but, here we are, a day late, and hopefully some people are still shopping. But anyway, today we're going to be talking about 10 essential films in the Criterion collection that I deem to be something that is a must-have for people. So I hope you enjoy this selection of choices that I have. Be sure to let me know what selections you would add to this. I've actually been doing a list of this for some time now, so look down in the description down below and check out those films as well. There's quite a bit of titles I'd like to talk about. So, but yeah, let me know what your essential films are for the sale, and also let me know what you're picking up for this sale. I would love to know in the comment section down below. So now let's jump into my choices. All right, and first is a film from 1928. We're actually going to be going in chronological order. I don't think I mentioned that at the top, but we're going to be talking about 1928's The Cameraman, starring Buster Keaton. This is his signing with MGM. This is kind of the last time he had control of the things that he would try to make, and kind of at the peak of his comedic power. And this is actually one that's not really talked about enough in terms of, like, if you're mentioning Buster Keaton, you're going to mention, Sherlock Jr., you're going to mention The General. The Cameraman, it's in that conversation, but it's not necessarily talked about enough. And this is a lot of fun. So there's a whole Yankee Stadium. There's a monkey. There's a whole rivers, a boat scene. There's so many things going on in this movie, all because he took a job as a cameraman, and trying to get the hijinks is really fun. It's only 69 minutes, nice, but also at the same time, it's not very long of a film. It's really worthy of talking about Buster Keaton's filmography, and this particular one in general. I think this one definitely deserves to be near the top of the films talked about, and I'm glad that Criterion put it out. So I definitely recommend checking out The Cameraman if you've not seen this film and you like slapstick comedy. Check out The Cameraman. All right, so next is a film from the early 40s, a horror film, and one that I actually covered the 80s edition of not too long ago, back in October. I'm talking about Cat People from 1942. This is actually spine number 833. This is only 73 minutes, which is another film that just breezes by, but it's so good, mainly because of these two individuals right here, Jacques Turner and Val Lewton. So the production and the director, I went backwards there. But man, oh man, this movie is atmospheric, it's horrifying, it's way ahead of its time. I think it's definitely one of the best films from the decade in terms of horror in general, and I love Simone Simon in this as well. She is fantastic, and pretty much more or less any band that she loves, there's this curse on her. You can kind of tell by the name of the title what happens, right? But there are so many great atmospheric choices here. The camera work is top notch. I love the score as well. Just, like I said, all the creative people in this film are just such a good match made in heaven, or maybe hell. I don't know. Cat People, I don't know where they go. So I always say they have 9 lives. I'm gonna stop joking, but certainly check out Cat People if you've not seen this. This is absolutely an essential in the collection, and you definitely should own it on Blu-ray. All right, so next is a film that I actually covered not too long ago. The first time I watched it actually was a couple months ago, and I fell in love with it. It is a film from 1955. It is spine number 22, and I'm talking about Summertime. So we have Katharine Hepburn in a film directed by David Lean. David Lean is a phenomenal director. Brief Encounter, just to name one. I don't know, Lawrence of Arabia, something like that. But anyway, Summertime is definitely one of the more casual films from him in terms of, the epicness of those films. I guess Brief Encounter is more like this, actually, than it is the other way around. But regardless, this is an amazing film of a woman, Katharine Hepburn, who goes to Italy and falls in love with a local shopkeeper, but she's on vacation. She's older. She definitely doesn't want to be around people as much. She definitely just wants to do her own thing, but all because she found this really lovely vase, maybe vase, I don't know how to say it, but man, this is a delightful film. It's a great romance, and it's definitely, I feel like it's really inspirational to maybe Before Sunrise from Richard Linklater, and I really love this, and it's a continuation, like I said, of Brief Encounter, which is a masterpiece in my opinion. So this is damn well close to it, and Summertime is definitely a recommendation that I think everyone should definitely check out. All right, so this next one is a tough sell, but at the same time, it is absolutely essential. It's actually the only film I've seen from this director. I plan on changing that pretty soon, but I'm talking about Andrei Tarkovsky in his 1966 film, Andrei Rublev. Wow, this movie is it's an experience. Much like most of Tarkovsky's films, I just absolutely love this film. This is, I think it's one of his first films. I think it's his second or third, but regardless, this is an epic. So it's 183 minutes. I didn't mention it's Spy Number 34, so it's another early one in the collection. Also got just a really fantastic set here in general. It has a poster. I have it actually framed, but it comes with the Blu-ray and the DVD. But it's an amazing film. The cinematography in this film is top-notch. Obviously, it's a Tarkovsky film, if anyone has seen any of his films, but also the performances. So, as this title suggests, it's starring Andrei Rublev, who is an iconic painter, and it really focuses on the aspect of that painter and his journey, right? And you can see through the landscapes that he walks through and the trials and tribulations that he goes through a spiritual journey, but also like a physical journey as well. It's a masterpiece. It's one of those things that you just cannot keep your eyes away from. Obviously, it's a test because it's 183 minutes. It's definitely reminiscent of films like The Last Temptation of Christ, or The Silence. Obviously, it's those Scorsese films, but it's definitely got a religious aspect to it. But at the same time, it's not overbearing, and it really is just looking at the human spirit. And I just adore this film. The last shot is amazing. It's certainly worth checking out if you've never seen a film from Tarkovsky. This is the one I would recommend to start off with because that's what I did, right? So Andrei Rublev, definitely check this film out. All right, next we're going to go to 1971 to Spy Number 827. It is McCabe and Mrs. Miller. We have Warren Beatty, Julie Christie, all in a film by Robert Altman, who is an amazing filmmaker. Nashville, just to name one big movie from him. He's got a couple other ones, of course. But man, oh man, this is a really amazing Western film. This is a Western set and a very, hellish snowscape of a landscape. But it is an unorthodox dream Western is what it would be called. It's definitely one of, the best Westerns I've ever seen. This is set up in the Pacific Northwest, so it's definitely in that, there's like a lot of timber. This town is very muddy and gross. There's a lot of white and a lot of brown. So that's pretty much what this film is all about, is really just getting in the muck of the whole thing and having a film like Yojimbo, just think of something like that, where this town is definitely messed up and, run by some locals that, aren't so great. So there's definitely some tension going on in this film, and I love it. And this is just a film that, just solidifies Robert Altman as one of the greatest directors, and at least American directors during this time period. And this is just another addition into his filmography. So definitely check out McCabe and Mrs. Miller if you've never seen this. It's a great film. All right, so next we're going to go to a film from 1983. This is Spy Number 535, and it is an amazing film about perseverance as well. We just mentioned it with Andrei Rublev, but I'm talking about Merry Christmas, Mr. Lawrence. This is starring David Bowie, one of the greatest rock stars of all time. He might be one of my favorites. But it is directed by Nagase Oshima, and is actually in Japanese and in English. And it also starring rock star Ryuichi Sakamoto, who also composed the score, this is one of the best scores out of all the things I'm going to be mentioning. Ryuichi Sakamoto's just scores are just phenomenal. But it also has Takashi Kitano in one of his first dramatic roles. And man, this is just a really great, prisoner of war film that really just kind of tests the spirit of the people who are involved with it, and in a very unorthodox kind of way, because it's definitely not a typical war movie. It is more akin to maybe like The Great Escape, but it's definitely centered more around the humans involved in this camp and the things they can and cannot get away with. And it's that Japanese prisoner of war camp that you don't really see, in the history books. But it's definitely worth watching. It is one of my favorite David Bowie performances. He's been in a lot of films, but I think this might be my favorite of the films he's been in. And I just think it's one of those films that really tests, like I said, the spirit of all of us. And just seeing the trials that, our characters go through is just pretty insane. So if you haven't checked out this film, I definitely highly recommend this one, because it's one that will pull on your heartstrings. Next is actually a trilogy from one of the greatest directors of all time, probably. Definitely the greatest Iranian director of all time, in my opinion. I'm talking about the Coker trilogy. So this is actually having, 3 films in here. It's Where is the Friend's House from 1987, and Life Goes On from 1992, and Through the Olive Trees in 1994. And this is Spy Number 990 all the way to 992. And wow, this is an amazing release, first of all, because I just love the design of this box set, because if you can see, there's all these landscapes that he utilizes throughout the film. Each of these films, honestly, that's like pretty much the mainstay. There's a lot of crossover. So if you're not familiar with Abbas Kiarostami's work, he definitely deals with reality and fiction and kind of blending the two in a very documentarian type of way, but it makes it believable in terms of like it's a story, right? It's a story about individuals, and interacting with each other and with, the environment that they're in. And so this is just a really fantastic release. First of all, I'm going to put this down right here. You can kind of see that, each of the films have their own little thing here. Slowly but surely you have, all the films here. There is Where's the Friend's House, and then it comes with the booklet, of course, as well. But man, oh man, these films really test how much empathy you have for other people, and I really love the utilization, especially from this film in particular. This is probably my favorite of the three. It's very much akin to the first film in the Apu trilogy. Very much about a child who is just trying to return something back to his friend, his schoolmate, and going across town over this hill just to return it. It's really enduring and really showcases how much how much humanity is in children. But also, and life goes on, kind of continues with that as we get older with the people who are involved in that original film. And it slowly and surely becomes more of a document when you get all the way up to through the olive trees. And so you kind of combine all these landscapes and see it over time, really looking from the late 80s all the way up to the early 90s, seeing that transition. It's fascinating. It's almost like a living, breathing piece of documentation of what's going on in the country itself and that particular town, right? And it's just an amazing film. I just said film, it's singular, it's plural. It's all these films are just absolutely stunning, and it's definitely one of the best trilogies in the entire collection, and I highly, highly recommend this because it'll put a smile on your face, it'll make you cry, it literally runs the gamut on the emotions. So definitely check out the Coker trilogy if you've not seen it before. All right, next is a modern film from 2012. It is actually a film that I used to not like at all because of the precociousness of the children involved. I'm talking about Wes Anderson's Moonrise Kingdom. Now, this is really, like I said, I used to hate this movie, so it's definitely come a long way for me in terms of the types of films that I would, try to watch in general. This was definitely the film that solidified the fact that I didn't like Wes Anderson. I had seen a few things previously, but eventually, until I got to Grand Budapest Hotel, which would be the film after this, it didn't click with me. And now that I'm going back in time, this one clicks. It's a lot of fun. It's got a great cast as usual from Wes Anderson. I don't think I mentioned this is spy number 776. And it's just a really great release, right? Of course, you have the people who are involved, of course. You have a bunch of people involved in this. I love the Brady Bunch aspect of this. You have Sam and Susie, who are our main two kids, who are definitely just trying, to love each other during this summertime camp. But you also got all the camp counselors and the people who are involved, the adults here, and they're all hilarious. I mean, obviously, Wes Anderson always has a really great cast. So this is definitely, I feel like, one of the first starts of like making like a giant super team of actors and actresses involved in Wes Anderson's films. But at the same time, he's been doing it all the way back to his original films. So, but Moonrise Kingdom, it's a really fun movie. It is precocious. It is definitely up its own ass, but at the same time, it's fun. It's definitely a movie that you'll just have a really good time with, and the aesthetic is absolutely perfect, I suppose, as Wes Anderson always wanted it to be. All right, next is a film from Alfonso Cuarón. This is a film that actually came out on Netflix, but it had a brief theater run as well, and I adore this movie. It crushed me when I watched it. It's a very personal film for him. This came out in 2018, and I'm talking about Roma right here. It's actually quite a heavy release because it has quite a bit of stuff involved in it as well. It's got a huge booklet. Like this thing is the heaviest thing in it, and it has the Blu-ray itself. But it is definitely one of the most gorgeous films that I've ever seen in terms of, cinematography, but also in terms of story, because it's definitely recounting a time period, even if it is fictionalized just slightly. There's a lot of reality based into this film. Just looking at the early 70s in Mexico City, seeing this time period for Coron and his family, and you know, just it's definitely dedicated to his you know, the people who were involved in his life, and I think this is really touching. It's a film that's really hard to watch. There's a lot of political and social drama going on in the background, you know, of this family who is just trying to survive, but it really is an amazing film. But I think one of the best aspects of this movie that I didn't mention is, you know, following Cleo, who is our main protagonist in this film, who is the maid of the family that she is taking care of, and we're really following her journey as she goes through all of this turmoil. It's really heartbreaking, but it's really beautiful. It's one of the best films that I had seen in the last like 10 years. I love the beach scene in particular. It's just makes you cry every time. So Roma, check it out. At least watch it on Netflix if you've not seen it. Pick out the Blu-ray as well. It's a phenomenal film. And last but not least is a film that is talked about a lot, I think, but it came out in 2019, so not too long ago, and it is directed by Bong Joon-ho, and I'm talking about the amazing Parasite right here from 2019. This is by number 1054. Wow, this movie, it's one of the first, I guess, international pictures to win Best Pictures in general, which is amazing for, you know, the Oscars, at least, if anyone cares about that. But regardless, this is a well-deserved film because it is a great story about family and the struggles, both sides of it, right? The rich and the poor, and definitely showing that social class aspect of it, especially from the poorer angle. But I love this film. It also comes in black and white on this edition in particular, but there is a lot of really good, you know, stunning photography going on in this particular film, and I love kind of the back and forth of this film. It comes with a poster and a booklet as well, and then it comes with the films itself and the bonus features. But it is a modern masterpiece. There's a reason why I'm talking about it right now, because it is definitely an essential film in the collection. And Bong Joon-ho is, I feel like, just really starting to like have like a much bigger career, even though he's been doing this for so long, and there's a lot of really great films from him. But I can just see him just go forward from here and just honestly create really great masterpieces that are social critiques, but also talking about family and family dynamics, and showcasing that struggle within that unit, right? And I really love how this film portrays that, even though it's outrageous and the scenario is pretty crazy, but at the same time, it makes sense though. You feel bad for everybody involved in this film, even if they do the right or wrong thing. So that's what Parasite makes. That's what makes it such a great film. And the black and white edition of this is pretty fun to watch too. So anyway, what about you? What are some essentials that you would deem to pick up during this collection sale? I would love to know down in the comment section down below. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Give it a like, share, hit the notification bell, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. I'm not Jones.